Hey there, welcome to the Impatient Entrepreneur Podcast, a show where we hear from entrepreneurs and business owners who are chomping at the bit to make their mark on the world. I'm your host, Lauren Quidar-Cockrell. Now, let's hurry up and get to the good stuff. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Impatient Entrepreneur. We have a fantastic conversation for you today. It hasn't even happened yet, but I know it's going to be amazing because every time Aleya Harris and I get together, we talk, and she never fails to inspire me. Just 100% track record of inspiration and tapping into exactly what I need in that moment. And so I hope that wherever this is reaching you today, that you feel that spark and you feel propelled on to do something wonderful with yourself today. So Aleya and I met through StoryBrand. She is another StoryBrand guide, killer copywriter. She has helped me with my work, and I can't recommend her enough. But anyway, I will let Aleya introduce herself in her own beautiful words. Aleya, welcome to the show.
Lauren, thank you for having me. It's an honor that you would have me on your podcast, because this is the second time I've been on a podcast of yours, right? Because the first time, you could have been like, oh, that was cute. Okay, never again. But you actually asked me back. So heck yeah. I do not take that lightly.
Yes, immediate dream guest list. Aleya was right at the top for sure.
Yeah, baby. So you asked me to introduce myself. I'm going to do it really quick. My name is Aleya Harris. I am a BioEnergetic Business Consultant, an award-winning international speaker, the CEO of the Evolution Collective, and the host of the Radical Rebirth Retreat. My whole jam is helping combine energy healing with business strategy for you to create your radically authentic story.
Yes, ma'am.
That's it.
That's it. That's it. Just that massive. There's a lot packed in there, and we will unpack it today a little bit. I also want to say that you are actually part of the genesis for this show. I've shared this a little bit with our community, but the last time Aleya and I talked, I mentioned, I have in my heart to do another podcast. My team keeps encouraging me to do another show. I don't know what it'll be about. And Aleya very wisely said, well, the best thing to do a show about is a problem you're trying to solve for yourself. And it was just like instantaneous light bulbs going off, lightning striking. I was like, oh my God, I know exactly what it is. And here we are.
I will take that as a testimonial. Yes. We're going to take that as a testimonial. Thank you.
Well, 5-star reviews all around. So to get us started, Aleya, are you an impatient entrepreneur?
Oh my God, yeah. So actually, I should take it down off the wall, but there is a quote on my corkboard by Jackson Kiddard that says, "Patience, child, patience. Remember, life is a journey. If you got everything you wanted all at once, there would be no point to living." And there's like 5 sentences after that. And it's been on my board maybe like 10 years. Still working on it.
Well, yeah.
And I also have had to give myself grace, because there is a difference between being impatient and motivated, and there's a difference between flighting and flitting around from all the thing to things and realizing when something is no longer serving you and moving forward. As I've received judgment when I knew that it was like, no, I'm not being impatient. This is not working. I just don't want this to get worse. This only gets worse from here. I know it only gets worse from here. So I'm making a change. And there have been friends, and even like my former publicist, I was like, oh, you're moving too fast. You're doing too many things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I moved when I did. I'm so glad I did this when I did. I'm so glad I ended that membership, or I started my own podcast, whatever it was, because if I hadn't, then I wouldn't have been able to move forward in my journey. That would have been a sticking point, a point of pent up energy, a point where I would have had to resolve later with some energy healing, right? Mm-hmm. So there is a difference between being impatient, which I have heaps of too. I'm not like absolving myself. But there's a difference between being impatient, where it's like, oh, I just feel restless. I'm in a state where I feel uncomfortable for some reason. And instead of resolving that discomfort, I'm just going to move on, which is for me how impatience manifests. versus I'm actually being discerning and moving with intention and purpose. So if someone calls you impatient, or if you're calling yourself impatient, you might be wise and recognizing impatience, or you might be judging yourself too soon. And I would encourage everyone, including myself, to really take a beat. Like, is this impatience and I just need to sit with it because sometimes life is uncomfortable? Or is it just time to move?
Love it. Already speaking truth to us. So, I wanted to talk to you regardless, no matter what was happening in your life or business. I always want to talk to you, but you have been through massive shifts in life, in work, in the past. So I would love for you to share a little bit about that. I mean, speaking of that feeling in your soul of propelling you forward, you have made some hard decisions. I'm assuming they're sort of hard. I mean, I don't know if the decisions were hard, but potentially unraveling things might have been hard. But anyway, talk to us about your evolution recently.
All of the things have felt hard. And so also before I launch into this, I do want to acknowledge anybody out there that is in a period where all the things feel hard. There's a period that's coming where all the things will feel easy. Right now, when all the things feel hard and you're like me crying all the time, it's hard to know that, but I do have a word of encouragement that this is a season, and seasons, I don't know how long that season is going to be for you, just like how I didn't know how long it was going to be for me, but it is a season. Just like winter comes, summer comes, spring, fall, all of it comes, and all of them have their benefits. So my season actually started when I got pregnant. My husband is super fertile. I can tell you exactly when I got pregnant, February 21st, 2022. And actually, it had really started before then, but that was when it was like, oh crap, I gotta get my crap together. I'm gonna have another human being, because my business had already started fizzling out. And now in hindsight, I look back and it's because I had lost my focus. A while back, I had said to myself, I'm going to be Oprah big. And it, boom, landed in my heart. And for me, Oprah big obviously means millions and millions, obs. But there's lots of ways to make millions of dollars. Lots and lots and lots of ways. Scrupulous, unscrupulous, whatever. Boring, exciting, whatever. But for me, being Oprah big means that I will be renowned for helping people be loved into the best versions of themselves, finding their inner spark, helping them spark it so they can go out into the world and create bigger, better things for themselves. Very similar in the way Oprah does, and how I also uplift other people and brands and as part of my future plan. I forgot about all that, right? Mess started hitting the fan. And I was like, I will twerk it strange for some marketing change up in here. I will do whatever I need to do to just bring in cash. So then the more I did that, the further away I got from that vision, until I just straight up forgot about it. And I was effectively, fully and squarely in survival mode. Does that mean I wasn't helping people? No, I was still helping people. I was still loving people. I still am who I am. I cannot help it. It's just how I'm built. But I was out of alignment, right? And then it was overly hopeful, trying actually to be more patient, to follow the advice of all of the gurus. I was trying to be patient, just write it out. This is what entrepreneurship is. So then I got into these horrible things that should be illegal called merchant cash advances, MCA. And they call them MCA loans, but I think legally they are not allowed to call them loans because they are predatory. I didn't know that. I knew that I needed $20,000 to cover payroll this month. So I needed money quick. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the perfect solution. And business will be back up next month. And so I'll just pay the whole thing off in full. No problem. And one time I did do that. So then you start being like, oh yeah, no, this will be great. This will be great for me. It was great until it wasn't. It was great until revenue slowed, right? So now I had $100,000 in merchant cash advance loans, and they have weekly payment. And it turned in the end I owed them $8,000 a month at a 64% interest rate.
Oh my God. That made me choke.
Are you okay?
I'm,
Are you okay?
I'm collecting myself, but come
You need
on.
Right. Okay. So that feeling that you just had, it was a feeling I had every second of every day.
My heart is
Keep
racing
in
and my
mind-
palms are literally sweating right now.
Sweating. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was horrible. No longer there. And I'll tell you how. I mean, this story has, we're still kind of towards the end of it, but it's having a happy ending, a much happier ending. So then top on top of this, my incredibly fertile husband. So that was not the plan. My plan, okay, babe, I'm going to take this IUD out. We're going to try. And I'm, at the time, was 35. So I was already what they consider a geriatric pregnancy, advanced maternal age. So I'm like, my little eggs, just, they got to, like, you know, turn off the golden girls and really get into action here. Like, it's going to take a minute before stuff gets moving. I bought Mucinex because they say Mucinex helps thin your cervical lining. I bought the teas. I bought all these things. Right? Because I'm like, I'm going to prepare. And I know exactly when it was because I was in between travels. I was only home for like 2 or 3 days. And then I come back and it was actually, I gave it a couple weeks, you know, whatever. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I feel like my period should have started. So I was like, okay, I know I'm not pregnant because my golden girl eggs gonna need a minute. And so I was like, okay, I have to record a podcast in an hour. Let me just do a test real quick to just check to make sure, you know, nothing's happening. Put my mind at ease. Yeah. So I must have dipped 3-4 sticks in some pee. And they were like, those lines were solid. Like, girl, you pregnant, girl. You pregnant, girl.
Yeah.
Call my mama.
Hormones be flowing.
Yeah. They were not golden girl eggs.
No.
They were not. They were Sex and the City eggs. They were here for it. Here for it. And I called my mom and I said, I was so in shock. I said, Mom, something's happened to me. She goes, what? Are you okay? Okay. And I said, I couldn't even talk. I just sent her a picture of the pregnancy test. And she goes, oh, you're pregnant. Thank God. I thought something really happened. I said, something did happen to me.
I had a plan. We were going to work on this for a minute. I've got things I need to do for my biz.
Right. It coordinated with my next launch. Like, that was my plan. No.
Yes.
So then I kicked some things
women
here.
Make babies. It's like, wait, hold on.
Right. Wait, hold on. Let me check my Stripe account and see if I'm ready for this. No, can we pause? Can we pause? Is there a button for that? No, there's no button for that. So here I am pregnant with my baby girl. And I'm like, okay. And luckily I had a great pregnancy. I was cute. I only gained 16 pounds, right? I was like, my skin was, and my hair, it came in after me. It's fabulous. But during the pregnancy, I had a failed launch that I also had invested in. So I was actually then negative $20,000 extra dollars. I sold zero. Not like, I had a failed launch. So I only sold like 3 or 4. Zero, nil, not a zilch to that program. That was supposed to be my maternity plan because it was a membership. I actually really don't like memberships. I don't like running memberships. And I knew that when I launched this membership. But what did I do? I launched it anyway. Yeah. Wow. And I knew that it probably was not where I wanted to go, was not what I needed to do. I had given away my agency because I was in fear. Yeah. And I said, here, I had this big team that I loved each and every one of them, but I really didn't need to have such a large of a team.
How many people did you have at that time?
15.
Oh my God, I didn't realize I got that big. That's a big old agency, girl.
Yeah, when we were running, we were dropping and pulling in $40,000, $50,000 a month. It was fine. And they were 1099 contractors, but it was fine. When it was not fine, it was not fine. Not fine. And as much as I love them, another lesson is I should have let them go early. I was so wrapped up in making sure that they could feed their families. By the time I was done feeding their families, I had nothing for mine. Right. And it would have been better to just give them notice, allow them to, because they're all so talented. All of them are working now. Right. So they had no problem going and finding someplace else. I should have given them more notice, but I just noticed and let them go. But I held on to them for too long. And I sank more and more and more money into this business that was not working. Meanwhile, I'm exhausted, right? Because I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
Especially in that first trimester and the third trimester. And then here she comes. November 7th, dun, 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 the princess is born. Enter into the world, Ruby Coral Harris. When Ruby Coral Harris was born, I was so scared about having her. One, because I don't know if you've ever had a baby. I know you haven't. But dear listener,
There's no good exit route for these babies.
no good exit route. None. That mess hurts.
Yeah.
Hurts. I was in labor for 36 hours and still had a C-section.
Oh,
It
no.
hurts.
Oh, no. I don't remember if I knew that. Oh,
It hurts. Yeah. And then, so from that moment forward, labor was really the start of a whole new downward spiral for me as soon as I entered in labor, because from that moment forward, all I could see in front of my face was pain and suffering.
yeah.
Because the labor was painful. The C-section was actually the easiest thing I did all day
Right.
because of drugs for that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then after, though, you have to recover from the C-section. Luckily, I did Pilates my whole pregnancy, so my recovery was a little bit better. But it's a pain. It's major
Yeah.
abdominal surgery.
Double duty
While you
too.
have something else
Yikes.
alive,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you got your boobs that now all of a sudden your body is a food source, and you're like, Jesus H Christ,
Mm-hmm.
what is happening, right? So all of that is happening. And in my bank account, when we went to the hospital, I think we might have had like $500. And I was concerned, that how was I going to pay the hospital bill? And in the back of my mind, I'm like, are they going to ask for it in advance? Which they do not, because that's inhumane. But I'm in labor and like not thinking like,
Clear
oh my God,
thoughts happening.
that was a thought, like, oh my God, if they ask for this money, and I think my copay was like $500. If they ask for this in advance, and like, I don't know, like we had bought a Starbucks or something, and it's only like $4.75 or whatever, because Starbucks is super expensive. What am I going to do? Are they going to like put me out on the street? These are the thoughts I'm having. So in addition to labor, I'm super scared.
So much fear.
So much fear. And I think that probably contributed to a harder labor. And the labor was only hard because I wouldn't dilate. It was like my body was like, no, stay in. No.
Keep her in here.
No, I'm not ready. No, I'm not ready. And I, as much as I was trying breathing exercises and doing all the spiritual stuff, and we prayed and all this stuff, deep down within me, I was like, oh God, this is about to suck. And it did. I had and still continue to be on the adventure of postpartum depression and anxiety. I was never suicidal. And if you are suicidal, I do encourage you to call the suicide hotline, because you are loved and you deserve to continue to feel loved. But I was in a dark place, sad, just sad. I loved my baby, didn't feel bonded with myself, didn't feel I was in pain, everything hurt. And it was just dark, and I was angry, and I was scared, and I was broke, and I had the merchant cash advance people calling me because I was defaulting on those loans. We had when one car lease got up, we had to let a car go because we couldn't afford to keep the other car. Thank God we could still pay rent, but I'm like, okay, let's like really sit down. What does food look like? Like we were struggling, and at all that time, I'm like, I maybe took off a week where I didn't work. But after that, I'm like, I got to do something. And my husband's still working. My husband is a doctor of education. Like he's a successful dude. He's an adjunct. He's an adjunct professor. And now I'm so excited. He just got a new job at Loyola Marymount University as the director of, what is it? Hold on. It's new. Director of Research and Assessment for Student Services. So
cool.
He got a huge job. Like,
Congratulations.
Thank you. But at the time he was a professor, and we do not pay adjunct professors enough, no matter how talented they are. And he's incredibly talented. And I was always the breadwinner the main breadwinner. It's from my big corporate job where I was now looking back, more irresponsible with my money than I thought I was, because I'm like, well, irresponsible/responsible, because I did have like $100,000 when I first was laid off to like use to like live off of and start.
That's a nest egg. That's a significant nest egg.
Right. I had a nest egg. But then, I mean, one thing I've learned also in this journey is that money comes and goes, but it goes. So it's not about how much money can I stockpile, which is a good thing. Saving is a good thing. It's a great thing. But it's about how do I create a system or a process within myself to consistently generate money. Now, does that mean by the sweat of your brow? No, it could be investing. It could be, because one of the things that really helped us is that we're partial owners in an apartment complex. And when the apartment complex sold, we got a nice chunk of change from that too, right? So it's things like that, making your money work for you. Anyways, so I'm in this darkness of depression, the irony is not lost on me when I'm about to say this, trying to help people feel loved and happy and write great copy and do great marketing strategy. It was actually the exact lesson that I needed, because it told me that my spark is not actually from me and my humanity. It is definitely from universe, from spirit, from God. Because still, I would show up, and this is more than once this happened, whether it was online or in person, because I started traveling around working when she was 3 months. And I'd show up in some place and they'd be like, oh my God, I love your energy. You are just so full of light. And I literally had just been crying in the bathroom.
I'm a shell of a human right now.
Right. I'm
leaking from every orifice.
Not doing great. Just did some breathing exercises, but thank you. But that in and of itself told me it's impossible then for what I'm doing here, my purpose on this planet, to have come from me. And it was a nice ego check. Because that means, one, I can't take credit for it. And two, that no matter what I go through, my purpose is intact to help people. Right. And when I've gone through that, and it's much better, I'm doing much better now. Postpartum, though, for those of you who don't know, tends to be about a 2-year journey. They don't tell you that when you're in your baby shower buying you freaking pink hair bows. I'm like, I don't need many hair bows, but I do need some real information.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my God.
About to be like.
Yeah. Could use some pharmaceuticals. Thank you.
Right. That should be, I think the Xanax should be in the diaper raffle.
Oh my God, yes.
All of it goes to the pregnant lady. That's what we should have. I actually didn't end up getting on medication, but I could have.
Yeah, well, they just approved a new pill for postpartum depression just this week, I think.
They did on Friday. And I was like, oh man, because now I don't need any medication, but I'm like, oh, that would have been dope. I would have signed up for the trial. I'd be like, I don't care if I get a third arm. Where's the pill?
It's worth it. Yeah.
It's worth it. So then, sorry, this is a long story. Yeah, but it was a broad question.
It was broad, but no, you're good. We're on this journey together.
Okay, so here I am. We're about 3 months in. I'm 4 months. Really deep postpartum depression, trying to do it all, broke. Husband's stressed. I'm stressed. Baby's great. So.
Resilient babies,
and
thank
then
God.
I started. What'd you say?
Resilient babies, thank God. As long as we're loving them and feeding them at that age.
I mean, she was hooked. I was pumping, so she was hooked on that good booby juice. She was fine. And then we've had help from my mom and from my aunt, and we've been very, 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 very blessed. And then things started opening up. I got a nanny, right, with the help of my mom, because I was like, I can't work. I can't do all of this, right? And it was really even more detrimental to my mental health. Our nanny is my angel. With her, I'm able to do things and be and feel more part like myself. I also entered into Goldman Sachs's 10,000 Small Businesses program. Goldman Sachs's 10,000 Small Businesses program actually has, no offense if you're from that program, but the marketing is not great. The words on the website are not great. They make it sound like, oh, you're going to put together a business plan. And it's kind of like, well, yeah, you do. The deliverable is a growth plan. And mine was 136 pages after this 15-week program, right? But that's not really the benefit. Like the benefit is them getting you to think bigger and giving you the support and the acumen you need to make that happen. So when I applied for the program, I qualified. When I entered the program, like when I actually started, I did not even qualify to be a part of the program for my revenue level, employees, nothing. I let go everyone eventually in December, right after my daughter was born. I was like, I just need to regroup. And so in Goldman Sachs, I thought I was going to go into their I just needed to figure out how to make some money. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go into a new vertical, a new market with my current company. By the time I left, I had started an in-person retreat, the Radical Rebirth Retreat. I had rebranded my marketing company to a BioEnergetic Business Consultancy, the Evolution Collective. And I had relaunched my personal speaker brand, all because I just had someone in there giving me the mental space and the encouragement I needed to think outside of the depression, outside of the fear, outside of the anxiety, what I want to be. And I remembered in that class that I wanted to be Oprah big. And one of the mistakes that I had made up until that point was trying to do what a lot of the people tell you to do, is to take your secret sauce and to package it up and then duplicate it. So like give it to everybody else for them to do, right? So if you're a strategist, take your secret strategy sauce, your 10-point framework, your whatever, train, mini strategists, and out they go with God, and they'll bring in revenue, and then you don't work as much. That was not working for me because of the type of strategy I do. It's bioenergetic business consulting, right? Bioenergetic business strategy. I get into your energy. You can't really train that very well. So instead, I looked at Oprah. I was like, well, Oprah didn't do that, right? She didn't go and create like little mini Oprahs and try to build like, no, she built something around herself to uplift herself so she was to a big enough point where then she could build up expert practitioner brands around her, like Rachel Ray, Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil. Oprah's stardom was so starry that she was able to get us to believe that a lawyer could be our therapist. Yeah. Dr. Phil is a lawyer.
Yeah.
His doctorate is a Juris Doctorate.
I know.
He is not a therapist.
I know.
Yet, how many years has this man been on air therapizing people across the nation?
It's a little ridiculous, right? Honestly.
It's a little ridiculous, but also a little magical, right? Like, I love or hate Dr. Phil. The fact that one woman's endorsement could launch that type of experience is a big deal. So I'm like, okay, let's see if we could do this differently. So I decided to realign to my vision. And with that, I kind of already unlocked some energy flow that was blocked. I got more help so I could focus on myself. I was in therapy like 5 hours a week. I got my nanny. And then I also realized something else. If I'm going to be Oprah big, I need to like start like talking. Like I need to like have a platform. Like I was going to be this Oprah big and there was no AleyaHarris.com. Now there is. Yeah. Right. But like, how am I going to do that if no, right? I mean, I had a podcast. It wasn't really like, I mean, I produced podcasts, like the podcast. We're on episode 78. Right? Like we keep going, but I wasn't really building myself up. And so I needed to work on increasing visibility. And then another thing that I learned in Goldman Sachs, or I guess came out of just the financial acumen I gained from there, was I was like, I can't do all the things. So what would I do if I could just focus on things that make me the most money and things that I love the most? So I took all of the revenue streams for the new businesses and I sorted them by percentage of revenue amortized over 5 years. And I said, if I just get on stage and speak like 2 to 3 times a month at my new rate, I could actually probably take a maternity leave. I don't care if the girl is 2 years old. Taking my maternity leave.
Yeah, you definitely earned it.
Right? So, and then I also worked with the America's Small Business Development Center. It's free. There's lots of coaches out in the world that want to charge you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Please, before you pay someone thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, go to America's Small Business Development Center, America's SBDC. It's completely free. And they have experts that they themselves, the experts, go out into the world and charge other people thousands of dollars. But if you go through the SBDC, it is completely free. And I went through my SBDC and I was hooked up with this guy named Sebastian DeVivo, who was able to hook me up with a community development financial institution, a CDFI. CDFI is who you go to when the banks don't want you anymore. They did not want me. I didn't blame them. Me on paper, not a good bet. Not a good bet, right? I don't know how low credit scores go, but mine was down where they should not be, in that place where people go, really? It can go that low? That's where my credit score was. And he was able to find a CDFI who took all of my debt, all of my business debt, and gave me a loan to cover it all, paid it all off. So no more predatory loans, no more phone calls, no more emails. And then they, as opposed to $8,000 a month, it's $450 a month.
Wow.
At a 10%.
Oof.
Yeah.
I bet that feels a little less stressful.
Just a little bit. Just
God.
a little bit. So I also will say to you, I told you in the beginning, if you're in a situation that's similar, or at least similar feeling to mine, yes, it's a season. But so is any mistake that you've made. It's not a death sentence. No matter how bad it is not a death sentence. There is a way, there is a someone, there is a person, there is something out there that will lead you out of it, no matter how small it might feel. Maybe you just need to go to that coffee shop that's like, I really want to go to, I can't even afford a coffee right now. I really need to go to this coffee shop, because there you're going to meet someone who is going to give you the business card of the person who's going to connect you with the other person that you need to get out of your mess, right? The best thing you can do is to keep your ears open, your spiritual ears open, and flow. I spent so much time forcing things, and all I did was hit up against a brick wall and make my knuckles bloody. The wall didn't move, as opposed to flowing, walking around the damn wall. And that's what I started doing, finding the flow, manifesting things. So now, yesterday, I woke up, because now when I organize my list of revenue, it's like, what is the thing that I'm focusing on? The number one thing is speaking. Like I said, it's what I love. It makes easy money. I don't need any team to do it, because I do it all, right? It's wonderful. And I can help as many people as possible that way. And I was like, oh, but I'm going to have to go out and pound this pavement. Yesterday, someone found me on social media, which I haven't posted on in probably like a week or two. And they said, oh yeah, we want to book you for a speaker at our conference. We think you're wonderful. We love your energy. We watched your video. Never heard of these people before.
Yeah.
Ever.
Love it.
And I'm like, oh, this is what flow feels like. This is what it looks like when we're actually doing what we're supposed to do, and we're not fighting against how it was supposed to be. I know I needed to go through that period to be who I am, to have those deep realizations about who I am and how I help, to understand people that are going through really tough places, because that's the thing about being the spark for someone else's spark. You really can't do that without a deep level of empathy.
Right.
And in order to get empathy, I had to go through deep pain myself. But we're not doing this again.
Lesson learned.
Let's check.
Yeah.
Universe, do you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm good.
Is
Thank
this
you.
thing on? I'm good.
I'm good now. All done.
So I'm very grateful for what I've learned, but I don't need to learn anything else in this area.
All full up.
All full up. Thanks so much.
Well, and there's a lot of lessons for anyone listening here too. I mean, some of the things that are bubbling up for me, one, when we are struggling with something like this, business, life, either, both, when we do it in silence and we keep it to ourselves and we just struggle alone, is so much worse in that dark place. And it's so much scarier when you speak it aloud, when you ask for help. Well, first of all, if you ask for help, it's being shared across multiple shoulders, and it's less heavy, but also, it's just so much less terrifying when it's spoken aloud. People are ashamed, so they don't want to speak it, but really it takes away so much power just to have it out loud. I mean, to be able to joyfully share your story like this is so beautiful, Aleya. I mean, truly, I can think of so many people who would just like never speak this. It shall never be spoken. I survived, but I'm not going to talk about it, but the fact that you can be here today to share this with listeners, to encourage people, to be on the other side of it with these lessons learned is so powerful.
Yeah. One of the things that I always got in trouble for in school, like elementary school, was talking and whispering. I know how to whisper now, but I had to learn. Like my whispering was like, so you gonna go to the playground? Like it was not great.
Yeah.
Not great. And that is I feel like I'm stealing some of your potential thunder here, but that is one of my superpowers, is talking. And during this period, I had to really get down to, there were so many existential crises. Like, who am I? No, I'm not that. That's what somebody else said I was. No, that's what I put on because I thought I had to. No, that's the direction I was moving into because of fear. No. And I had to get down to like, well, who am I? And the answer that I have now might not be the answer I have in 15 years, but I looked at, what do I do regardless? What did I get in trouble for? What would I get in trouble for now from my husband by giving me the look?
Yeah.
And it is talking. It is talking. So when you say, one of the things is, that's how I connect with people. I'm very, very curious. So like, I was at lunch yesterday, even with a girlfriend, and I was like, okay, this is not a session. Like, this is not a coaching session. We're just like hanging out, doing lunch. And I could not help myself. She was done crying at the end of the lunch. I said, I always do this to people.
Yep. Well, it's a gift.
It's a gift. And because I'm just so curious. And it always starts with a question, right? Usually around the lines of, so what motivated you to do that?
I peel back this onion.
And we start just talking and listening and engaging. And then I start feeling my heart center warming, or I start feeling their sadness. I'm like, oh no, well, we can't just leave it like this. Let me ask some more questions. All right. That's, I don't know how to suffer in silence because I don't know how to be silent.
Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah. You don't need a stiff upper lip. It makes it so much worse.
Right. But I know that there are a lot of people that do very well at silence. And if that is you and you're like, that's great, Aleya, but I can hold a secret about myself until my deathbed, I would encourage you to journal. Because then at least it's going somewhere and not just being all held inside of you. Another thing that you can do is you can create voice notes to yourself on your own phone, just on your voice recorder, and talk it out. I would always encourage you to like do therapy. Therapy is great.
Yes. Retweet.
But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, start there until you feel comfortable talking to somebody else. But you need to get it out, written, verbally. It needs to get out of you, because the more that those emotions stay inside of you, the more that they begin to fester. And as they fester, like anything that's putrid or rotting, or a baby's diaper, if it's somewhere that it's not supposed to be, it starts smelling up not just the immediate area, but the whole joint, right? So that thing that was once small, that comment that, oh, it just hurt a little bit, and you're not getting it out, it's starting to fester and grow and take root. And you need to cut it off at the root before it deepens.
And it's not complaining or belly aching or, woe is me. I mean, it's action oriented speaking. It's requesting help or helping yourself, or it's, you are doing something beyond just, whining.
Yeah. I mean, there's venting. Like sometimes you just need to vent, and you just need to be like, this sucks. And like, I get that, but I agree. You can't just stay there. I know several people that older than me, some very much older than me, that have been victims for 30 years. And if you know the StoryBrand framework, you will know that the victim actually has no part in it. The victim does not evolve in the story. The hero has this big hero's journey. They evolve, they develop, they grow, they transform. The victim is just a story piece to allow us to contrast it to the hero, something for the hero to save, something for the hero to appear more heroic. You don't want that role in the story. It's time then, if you're feeling a victim, to step into your own hero's journey, to be the person that goes on the transformation. The hero appears brave, maybe, but really all the hero does really well is put one foot in front of the other. That's it. That is literally all that's required on a journey. I don't care if you're scared. I don't care if you're sad. I don't care if you're broke. I don't care if you are like, is my car going to be repossessed this month? No, it's not. Woo, it's a good month. Been there, right? I don't care if your credit score is 2 digits, which I don't know if I wasn't 2 digits, but if I had kept going, it might have ended up 2 digits. As long as you keep putting one foot in front of the other, truthfully, even if you're going the wrong direction with one foot in front of the other, you will end up getting course corrected back. But if you stay exactly where you are, you're never going to find a solution. It's like, if you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
Don't stop. Burn up.
Keep going.
Yeah. What do you think are some of the most important lessons that you're going to take forward so that you don't do that again? I've personally been through quite a bit this year in the work realm, and it's so funny that each time I share a story, the number of people have said, well, what did you learn from that? I'm like, that's so funny. Everyone keeps asking me that, because I did learn, and I have, tattooed it on the mentally. And I feel like I have learned this lesson. I am taking it to heart. Like, what do you feel like, or, one or two lessons like, okay, this is how I got on this path, and this is what happened. Like, what do you feel like are the real salient lessons you learned?
I feel like one of them is following the advice of, well, you have to work in your zone of genius. So, and what I mean by that, it's not that I want you to go and do something that you don't love, but what happens is, I want to only work in my zone of genius, so I'm going to hire everything else. And so then you end up bloated. Right. As opposed to, well, work in your zone of genius, and how do you streamline operations so much that you can keep overhead low and you can actually enjoy the profit. Right.
Yeah.
Because revenue was great. Profit was the problem.
Yeah.
Also, like, this is not like an emotional life lesson, but if you don't know what a P&L is and you aren't looking at it on a regular basis, you are heading for a mess of hurt, my friend. You need to know your profit and loss statement, or another word for that is your income statement, and you need to manage by it. If you're emotionally driven, or you call yourself an intuitive entrepreneur, a creative entrepreneur, whatever all of those things are, I am all of that in spades. There are so many crystals in this room, I could probably start a crystal shop. So I feel you, dog.
Yeah.
But crystals go really great with spreadsheets. So look at your QuickBooks, or if you don't have QuickBooks, you can do it manually. And the revenue is a sexy number, but it's kind of like a prostitute versus a wife. Like, it might be a good time, but that revenue might also give you hepatitis.
Yeah.
Right? If you are only managing by that revenue number.
Yeah.
So those are good. The wife loves you forever, right? That is your profit at the bottom, right? That's that good home cooking, that good solid, oh baby, come here after a hard day, right? That is the growing, loving number, profit. And the next one next to that is profit margin. So if you do not manage by your bottom line, and you are just using the vanity number, like, there are lots of vanity number, follower counts a vanity number, and revenue is a vanity number. Because you are in business to make money. I don't care what your business is. I literally go inside people and look at their ancestors and past lives and what their spirit guides are telling them, and they sign a contract and pay an invoice before I do that.
Yep.
Right? It doesn't really matter what your business is. You are in business to make money.
Right.
So please advantage using the financial tools available to you so that you can make better financial decisions. And don't allow your sentiment for an individual to cloud your business decisions. So like I said earlier, I should have let people go earlier. That actually would have been the more loving thing to do, not the less loving thing to do, which is what I thought of at the time. A more loving thing to do would just to be straight up. And I was straight up and honest. I was like, oh, we're not doing good. We're not having a good month. This is another not good month. But it would have been even better if I said, we're not having a good month. I'm putting everyone on pause, right? I need to go back, fix some stuff. I'll come back. I may unpause you. I may not, but I need to take some time. I'm giving you 30 days. As opposed to stringing on. I still owe some of them money, right? Still, every cent will be paid, but I still owe some of them money because I kept them on for too long and I didn't have enough money to pay them.
Yep. Yeah. You were not alone. I have not been in that. Well, I've been in that particular situation. I was not the person taking the loans, but I was in a role once where it was around the aughts with the economic downturn, and we had a team, and we came up with a plan to lay some people off, just kind of streamline the team and move forward. And I came in the office the next morning ready to help execute the plan. And the decision maker said, I've changed my mind. I just can't do it. I'm going to take another line of credit instead. And at that point, I was like, I got to leave. Like, I can't, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Good decision. Good decision.
So, but I think for anyone who is an empath, for people who are compassionate people, who are optimists. I mean, I think a lot of us entrepreneurs are optimists too. We have to be. We would not keep doing this if we weren't optimists.
Exactly. You have to. And you look at your cash flow plan and you're like flowing until month 4. And you're like, that's fine. It'll be fine. We'll get it in.
Just keep swimming.
Keep swimming.
But yeah, you're right. I think it would have been a much more meaningful kindness to just be like, hey, today's the day. Maybe it's a furlough. Maybe we can come back. But, I will do what I can to land you in a position rather than owe someone money 8 months later, So
exactly. Yeah. Which is where we're at. Again, every cent will be paid. Should you be one of those people I owe money to? And you were listening to this podcast.
This podcast is a legally binding podcast. Aleya, tell us what bioenergetic work is. If someone's listening and they're like, what is that? Tell me more.
Bioenergetics is the study, detection, and correction of the energy that surrounds and penetrates a living system. So if you think about your chakra system, people tend to be familiar with that. That is part of your overall energy field, but that's not all of it. Your aura, okay, that's part of it, but that's not all of it. If you think of traditional Chinese medicine and your meridians or the energy flow systems, that's part of it, but that's not all of it. All of those things together and some other things make up your overall energy field. And I use all kinds of modalities to help people, but the one that I find offers the quickest and most illuminating results is the Ness Health Bioenergetics Wellness System. Be forewarned, this is going to sound like science fiction, and the first thing you're going to think of is that I'm a liar before I tell you what I'm going to tell you. Just prefacing it. I promise I'm not a liar. If you couldn't tell from the rest of this episode, I try to be as truthful as possible.
Yes.
The Ness Health Bioenergetics Wellness System uses the sound of your voice to carry your energy field into a software program where it then translates it and maps it to a quote unquote ideal energy field to say where you are off or out of alignment and where you should prioritize your attention. There, of course, no one can be in the ideal state because you'd be dead, or you'd be Jesus, one or the other. So you're always going to have a little bit off, but your body and your energy field is very wise. And it tells you the things that you need to prioritize first automatically, right? So it works in the way, like same way that you can't see microwaves with your naked eye, but your food gets hot, or you can't see the radio waves that you hear Beyonce playing, that your energy field works the same way. So when I do a reading like this with someone, it takes really to dive into it. If we did it all in one chunk, it'd be 2.5 hours or so. And I like to break that out over a couple of weeks to help them understand what the blockages are that they've been dealing with for years, where they need to focus, and usually pretty darn simple ways that they can make adjustments to enter back into flow. I didn't feel comfortable using the bioenergetics wellness system when I was pregnant because I wasn't sure I would get accurate results because I wasn't sure whose energy it would be reading.
Sure,
really?
sure,
It's like, is it her? Is it a weird mix of us both? And then some energy healing, I also didn't feel like, even I was like, okay, even if I get the answer for this, I don't know if I feel comfortable doing the work that comes after that. Because energy healing can be quite powerful. And I was like, you know what, let me just leave our energy here. And I, again, had a great pregnancy, so I wasn't really bothered by it. Then I know this, again, sounds weird. I forgot about it. I was so, after I gave birth, I was so in my depression that I forgot about my own tools. And then a couple of months ago, I was like, you know, I should do a reading on myself. I'm sorry, I've tried so hard not to swear on this. I have a potty mouth and I mess you not. I did a reading for myself and I use this tool called My Health Device, which is energy acupuncture, so painless acupuncture. And then the next day got a new client. Then I stopped crying as much. The next day I felt like this surge of smile, like a smile from my belly kind of smile that I hadn't felt in so long. And so just getting slightly adjusted. Then I started, well, maybe I should get back into just doing a little meditation. I started with just 2 minutes and I started working my way back into flow. And so that's why I like using bioenergetics for people that feel downtrodden, feel hopeless, feel lost, feel burnt out, have gone through a divorce, have gone through postpartum, or have gone through some type of business crises, and they just don't feel like themselves, because we can get you corrected and on a path much faster than lots and lots and lots of other modalities that are trying to, take stabs in the dark of where you're off. Where it's like, I can tell you exactly where you're off. And then I might recommend, okay, now you need to go to a Reiki energy healer to do this, or now you to go and do yoga, or now you need to go and write forgiveness letters, or now you need to, whatever it is, but then I can give specific things that you need to go do based on the scan. And then of course my intuition. So that's what bioenergetics is. And before I told you I was in the Goldman Sachs program, right? In the Goldman Sachs program, I had some very, very good advisors. At least I learned that they were good. In the beginning, I was a little unsure.
Okay.
Because they said something to me that I thought was asinine. They were like, love you, Aleya, but your business name is confusing. And I'm like, at the time, my business was called Flourish Marketing. I said, either they don't know what marketing is up in here, and that means I need to leave. They don't know what the word flourish is. I mean, I get it. It's not like $1 million word, but I mean, maybe it's better than grow. Like, it's a little more complicated. I said, who am I with? Who are these people?
Yeah.
Turns out that was not it. What they were saying was all of the things that I was doing had marketing elements, but it was really strategy. And I was trying to call it all marketing. So then now I have a strategy company where we combine that bioenergetics, and we take okay, now we've gotten you in a place. Where are you trying to go? Okay, where are we trying to go for 5 years? What does that sexy wife number, that profit number at the bottom look like? And what's blocking you from getting there? Okay, now let's look at your team. Let's do bioenergetic work for all of your executive team, because y'all are like a dysfunctional family right now, right? And you're never going to be able to do strategic planning because you tried it last year and it was a hot mess. And y'all were on your own. So let me come in and do some bioenergetic work. I'll be in the room and I'll help you turn your 5-year hopes into 5-year goals. All of that is possible because we look beyond the surface. I'm not just going to come in here with a spreadsheet and like the different roles and like, okay, this is a strategic plan. That's not
Mm-hmm.
and it hasn't been working for many years for a lot of people. So now we're just really opening up to something new.
Exciting. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So we've answered some. Oh wait, no, I'm jumping ahead of myself. You actually teed this up perfectly. I know you're creating a lot of things right now. Talk to us a little bit about some of the things like the Radical Rebirth Retreat, things like that. Like what are you creating right now, or what are you putting out there like the strategy work that you're doing?
So let's start with the retreat. The Radical Rebirth Retreat is an immersive experience that is for people, executives, and entrepreneurs who are experience a life shift. Like, I don't know, having a baby. All right. Just as the same advice I gave Lauren about starting this podcast is the same advice I took for myself. It's like, what is the thing that you're struggling with the most, and what would be the thing that would solve it? This retreat. So, and then I've done other work. So like I'm showing up in the retreat as my whole self, but I was like, no, this is the retreat that I needed. Like right as soon as that sucker popped out of me, right? Yeah. This is what I needed. And I started talking about it in April, and I had no name for it. It was literally just an idea. And then I mentioned the word rebirth. And someone else went, oh my God, I need that. And then somebody else, totally different conversation, said, oh my God, I just need like a rebirth. And then I talked to another person a couple of weeks later, I just want like a rebirth. I'm like, do you? And so it's a Radical Rebirth Retreat, and it's set up very differently than most retreats. The first part of the retreat is virtual, where after your robust intake process, we go through and we have one-on-one bioenergetic coaching scans. So you'll do your first scan, you'll get intentional gifting, where we'll help you go through specifically what exactly are you doing and what do I need to send you, personalized meditations, journal prompts, whatever, so that you can be ready for the in-person experience. The in-person experience is 7 days, 3 of which we do plant medicine like ayahuasca. And then after the plant medicine journeys, we dive into your particular narrative of your new rebirth self. And the problem with a lot of the times when people go on ayahuasca trips or they go on retreats is they're like, great, I feel fresh and new. I don't really know how to explain it. I just feel like a great person. I don't really know what to say. I just feel like, oh, I'm so new. And it's like, nah, girl, we not settling for that. I want you to be able to explain exactly who you are and exactly how you feel, exactly what you want and how we're going to go out and get it. So we take several days to do that. And in the end, you have your rebirth story. We have a rebirth ceremony, and all throughout we have multiple expert practitioners. Our shaman is 106 years old from the Colombian Amazon. We have Akashic record readers, a psychic medium who usually only works with celebrities, but I know people. So he's going to come and work with us. We have a Toltec astrologer coming from Mexico. She's an abuela in Mexico, and we're flying them all into Colombia for 7 days. Then this is again where most retreats stop. And then you go back as this new shiny self into your old context, and you don't know what to do about it. And so then you become your old self again, right. Or at least you backwards. We don't want that to happen. Your rebirth should be something that you can use to move forward, not backward. So when you return, you have a month of mastermind coaching calls as well as bioenergetic sessions to help solidify your new you. All of this is taking place in Q1 of 2024 in Colombia. If you're interested, you can go to radicalrebirthretreat.com. In addition to that, I do have the Evolution Collective, where we help executives, entrepreneurs, and leadership teams and high potential individuals like thought leaders and content creators develop a differentiated, radically authentic story that they can use to help motivate their teams, motivate themselves, and solve bigger problems. It's basically like a catch-all. So like if you're struggling, like just between you and me, like on this podcast, like there's like words on there. So like, you can be like, oh, I do need this thing or I do need that thing. But like, if you're just like, I just need like to feel better. My team's a mess and I don't really know what to do. And I've tried all the things. Just call me. We can work it out.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to solve some problems here. That's what we're doing. Go to evolutioncollective.com to check that out. And then I am an award-winning international speaker. It's my jam. Like I said, that is my focus because that's where I find some of the most joy is on stage, helping people, the crying and the hugs it's not a typical presentation. There's chanting involved, usually visualization involved, dancing involved. There's all kinds of things involved. So if you are a corporate event planner, if you are a destination management company or destination management organization, or if you just have a whole bunch of people together and you are able to pay my rates, I will go to your living room. Head over to aleyaharris.com/speaking to check out my speaking topics and to schedule a call, ALEYAHARRIS.com/speaking. I would love to edutain you.
I love that. Wow. This has been a very rich conversation. I feel like, you almost didn't need me. That's really good stuff.
I'm sorry. I always need you. You gave me exactly all of the touch points and the feedback. Thank you.
No.
And sorry, that must be because right now on my podcast, I'm in a solo episode series. So I've just been talking.
Well, obviously it is your gift of speaking. You're a talented and wonderful person, and you have so much wisdom to share. And I'm so glad you could do that with us. And, you pre-answered all my questions. So.
Sorry.
No,
sorry.
There's nothing to apologize for. I think, I know people are going to get a lot out of this, and I'm so proud of you for going back to, like, you departed your authenticity during that dark season, and so you recognized it, you went back to it, and you were back on your authentic path. And, Oprah, look out.
I know, right? I know. The Goldman Sachs program at the end, and someone wrote me a very sweet note. They're like, you will be Oprah big. And then they cross out Oprah and they wrote Aleya. Yes. I was going to be Aleya. And I loved it. I claim that. Thank you.
Yeah, you are your own person, and you have your own gifts, and the world is better for it, certainly.
Thank you.
Now, you've already given some advice. Do you have a final piece of advice for our listeners that they can do right now to make their lives or businesses better?
I think that the final piece of advice I would have is, especially in our very hectic world where things happen seemingly instantly, you want a new website, you blink and you can throw it up, is to pause and ask yourself the question, why? Why am I doing this? Does it serve the highest good? Is this the most important thing for me to do right now? Or I also love the question from The One Thing by Gary Keller. That's, what is the one thing that I can do right now to make everything else easier and or unnecessary? I just want you to take a second and realize, is now the thing that you need to do? Is this the thing you need to do now? Is this the thing you really need to do ever? Or are you reacting and being impatient and you need to just slow down?
That's really powerful, especially for those of us who are impatient, who get kind of fixated on something that I got to have it right now. I want to do this right now. All my energy is focused on this thing. It's like, I think taking a moment, taking a step back. Am I chasing my tail? Am I digging a hole to China? Is this really going to be the thing that moves my business forward, my life forward? We've all certainly, I guess, just race down the road to hell rather than be like, where am I going right now?
Where am I going? Well, I'm just moving because the last little bit of pain that I had yipped at my heels and I yipped over in this direction to the left. Really, I should have just taken a deep breath and kept going on that same path or turned around or dealt with that challenge as opposed to moving from it. And just look at how you're moving through life. Sometimes reacting is not the best solution.
Very good. Well, thank you, Aleya. Always great to talk to you.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for having me again.
Yes, ma'am. Always and forever. Thanks for listening to The Impatient Entrepreneur. Love the podcast? Be sure to share it with a friend or colleague or give us a 5-star review on Apple. You can also chat with us on Instagram or Facebook at The Impatient Entrepreneur Pod. Want to star on a future episode? Head over to theimpatientrepreneur.com to inquire. Thank you to the team at Quidar & Co. for believing in me and bringing this podcast to life. And thank you to Carson Childers for mixing and editing this episode. Can't wait to see you next time.